Welcome to World History Explored. Today, we uncover the rich and fascinating history of the Bahamas, an archipelago known for its pristine waters, diverse culture, and storied past. From the earliest settlements to the modern era, the Bahamas has been a significant crossroads of cultures, economies, and geopolitics. Join us as we explore the compelling journey of this Caribbean gem. The Lucayan era. The history of the Bahamas originates with the migration of the Lucayans, a subgroup of the Taino people who spoke Arawakan languages. Between 500 and 800 AD, these skilled seafarers traveled in large dugout canoes from Hispaniola and Cuba to the islands of the Bahamas. The Lucayans were attracted by the archipelago's uninhabited islands, abundant marine life, and resources, which provided a perfect environment for settlement. By 1000 AD, the Lucayan population flourished, growing to an estimated 40,000 people spread across the archipelago's larger islands. Their lives were deeply connected to the environment. They farmed cassava, maize, sweet potatoes, and other crops suited to the Caribbean climate. They excelled in crafting tools and ornaments from materials like conch shells and wood, which were abundant in their surroundings. Their expertise extended to weaving intricate baskets, hammocks, and mats that reflected their artistic skills. Lucayan society was structured around small communities, each governed by a cacique, chief, who held dual authority as a political and spiritual leader. Their spiritual practices centered on semes, sacred objects that represented their gods or ancestral spirits. Ceremonies, rituals, and offerings were integral to their way of life, and their belief system emphasized harmony with nature. Despite their thriving culture and sustainable way of life, the isolation of the Lucayans left them vulnerable to external threats. The arrival of Europeans in 1492 would abruptly end their centuries-long period of prosperity, resulting in the near eradication of their population and the loss of their unique cultural heritage. European exploration and early colonization, 1492 to 1648. On October 12, 1492, Christopher Columbus made landfall in the Bahamas. Landing on an island he renamed San Salvador, known to the indigenous Lucayans as Guanahani. This historic encounter marked the first contact between Europeans and the peoples of the Americas. Columbus was initially greeted by the Lucayans with kindness and curiosity, but this meeting would soon have catastrophic consequences for the native population. Columbus and subsequent Spanish explorers viewed the Bahamas as a strategic entry point to the New World. However, the Spanish had little interest in the islands themselves due to the lack of gold or other valuable resources. Instead, they saw the Lucayan population as a source of labor for other colonies. By the mid-1500s, nearly all Lucayans, approximately 40,000 people, were forcibly relocated to work in gold mines and plantations on Hispaniola and other islands. Their enslavement led to extreme suffering and the near extinction of the Lucayan people. For over a century, the Bahamas remained largely abandoned, used sporadically by mariners as a refuge or for salvaging shipwrecks. It wasn't until the mid-17th century that permanent settlements were reestablished. In 1648, British Puritans known as the Eleutheran adventurers sought religious freedom and left Bermuda to colonize the Bahamas. They settled on Eleuthera Island, naming it after the Greek word for freedom. However, the settlers faced numerous challenges, including infertile soil, lack of fresh water, and resistance from the Spanish. Despite these obstacles, the Eleutherans laid the foundation for British colonization and established rudimentary governance structures that influenced the Bahamas' future development. The Age of Piracy, 1670 to 1720. By the late 17th century, the Bahamas had become a center for piracy, drawing infamous figures from across the Atlantic. Its location along major shipping routes made it a strategic haven for pirates seeking to intercept treasure-laden Spanish galleons and other merchant vessels. The absence of effective governance turned Nassau, the capital of New Providence Island, into the infamous Republic of Pirates. This era was characterized by lawlessness, with pirates far outnumbering legitimate settlers. Figures such as Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, Charles Vane, and Anne Bonny operated with near impunity, using Nassau as their primary base. Pirate crews attacked and plundered ships, amassing significant wealth while disrupting colonial trade routes. The pirate population created a chaotic but oddly structured society in Nassau. Some settlers collaborated with pirates, profiting by trading supplies for stolen goods. Meanwhile, the British Crown struggled to impose order. Attempts to suppress piracy were hampered by corrupt local officials who either ignored the pirates or actively colluded with them for bribes. In 1718, King George I appointed Woodes Rogers as the first royal governor of the Bahamas to restore order. Rogers arrived with a fleet of Royal Navy ships and offered pardons to pirates willing to renounce their criminal activities. Many accepted the offer, including the infamous Benjamin Hornigold, who became an ally in the campaign against remaining pirates. Rogers also implemented strict measures, including building fortifications and establishing courts, effectively ending the Republic of Pirates. His leadership marked the transition from a lawless haven to a more stable British colony. If you're enjoying this journey through history, take a moment to support World History Explored. Like this video, share it with friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tap the bell icon to stay updated on our latest explorations into the fascinating stories of the past. Your support helps us bring more history to life. Thank you. British colonization and the Loyalists, 18th century. The 18th century marked the consolidation of British control over the Bahamas. The island's economy revolved around salvaging shipwrecks, producing salt, and fishing, with agriculture remaining limited due to poor soil quality. The British Crown supported infrastructure development, including the construction of ports and fortifications, to solidify their presence in the region. The American Revolution, 1775 to 1783, brought significant changes to the Bahamas. After the war, Loyalists, colonists who remained loyal to the British Crown, fled the newly independent United States and sought refuge in the Bahamas. The British government granted them land, and they attempted to establish plantations using enslaved African labor. This migration tripled the population of the Bahamas, with enslaved Africans and their descendants forming the majority. Despite their ambitions, the Loyalists faced numerous challenges. The Bahamas soil was ill-suited for large-scale agriculture, and pests like the boll weevil devastated cotton crops. Hurricanes also frequently disrupted their efforts. Nevertheless, the Loyalists left a lasting impact on the Bahamas, including the introduction of plantation culture and the expansion of slavery. The abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in 1807 marked the beginning of significant social and economic changes. The British Navy intercepted illegal slave ships and resettled freed Africans in the Bahamas, enriching the island's cultural diversity. By the late 18th century, Nassau had emerged as the political and economic hub of the colony, laying the groundwork for its future as a center of trade and governance. The Bahamas in the 19th century. The 19th century was a period of profound transformation for the Bahamas, marked by economic shifts, social reforms, and growing cultural diversity. Following the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, the British Navy actively intercepted illegal slave ships and resettled freed Africans in the Bahamas. These liberated Africans formed self-sustaining communities, enriching the island's cultural landscape with their traditions, language, and skills. The economic focus shifted from plantation agriculture, which had largely failed due to poor soil and pests, to maritime industries such as fishing, sponging, and salvaging shipwrecks. Wrecking, or the recovery of goods from shipwrecks, became a significant and lucrative activity, particularly in Nassau. The strategic location of the Bahamas along major shipping routes made the islands a hub for such activities, attracting merchants and adventurers alike. The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. brought a brief period of prosperity as the Bahamas became a center for Confederate blockade runners. Nassau served as a staging ground for smuggling cotton to Europe in exchange for arms and munitions. This economic boom, however, was short-lived, and the islands reverted to struggling with limited resources and challenges posed by natural disasters like hurricanes. Social reforms gradually began to take root during this period. Churches and schools were established to address educational and social inequalities, with missionaries playing a key role in community development. Despite these efforts, progress was uneven, and the rigid racial and class hierarchies of colonial society persisted. The abolition of slavery in 1834 marked a significant turning point, leading to the gradual emancipation of enslaved people. Freedmen carved out new lives, often working in the maritime industries or farming small plots of land, and began to reshape the social and economic fabric of the islands. The Bahamas in the 20th century. The 20th century ushered in an era of modernization and political change for the Bahamas. The island's economy saw significant growth, driven by tourism and offshore banking, which became the twin pillars of economic development. World War II highlighted the strategic importance of the Bahamas. Nassau served as a naval base for Allied forces, and the islands played a supporting role in the war effort. The construction of Oaks Field, the first airport in the Bahamas, marked the beginning of aviation in the region and set the stage for the post-war tourism boom. The natural beauty of the Bahamas, combined with its proximity to the United States, made it an attractive destination for American tourists, particularly after the closure of Havana, Cuba, to U.S. travelers in 1961. Resorts, casinos, and luxury amenities transformed Nassau and Freeport into bustling tourist hubs. Modern political development began after World War II. The formation of the first political parties in the 1950s signaled the start of a more organized and democratic governance structure. The Progressive Liberal Party, founded in 1953, and the United Bahamian Party, founded in 1956, became the two main political forces shaping the island's future. In 1964, the Bahamas achieved self-government, with Sir Roland Simonet, leader of the UBP, serving as the first premier. This milestone marked the beginning of the island's transition from colonial rule to independence. Sir Lyndon O. Pindling, leader of the PLP, became the first black premier in 1967, reflecting the growing influence of the majority African-descended population in the nation's political landscape. In 1968, the title of Premier was changed to Prime Minister, further emphasizing the Bahamas' growing autonomy. Independent Bahamas and contemporary development. On July 10, 1973, the Bahamas achieved full independence, becoming a sovereign nation within the Commonwealth of Nations.
And those babies came on the country's 43rd anniversary. We caught up with Raimi Ferguson, who was born on July 10, 1973, when the Bahamas became an independent nation.
The celebration of independence marked a new chapter in Bahamian history, with its people taking control of their political, economic, and cultural destiny. Tourism and offshore finance continued to dominate the economy in the post-independence era. The Bahamas established itself as a global financial hub, attracting investments and businesses with its favorable tax policies and banking secrecy laws. Meanwhile, the tourism industry thrived, with millions of visitors drawn to the island's pristine beaches, crystal-clear waters, and vibrant culture. Nassau and Freeport became international gateways, and new developments expanded tourism to the out islands, spreading economic benefits more broadly. Despite its economic successes, the Bahamas faced significant challenges. Issues such as education, healthcare, housing, and environmental sustainability required ongoing attention. The islands also contended with illegal immigration, particularly from Haiti, and international narcotics trafficking, which posed threats to security and stability. Hurricane Dorian in 2019 highlighted the vulnerability of the Bahamas to climate change and natural disasters. The storm devastated the Abaco Islands and Grand Bahama, causing over $7 billion in damages and displacing thousands of residents. The recovery efforts underscored the need for resilient infrastructure and sustainable development practices to mitigate the impact of future disasters. The political landscape of the Bahamas remained vibrant, with power alternating between the Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, and the Free National Movement, FNM. Leadership changes reflected the dynamic nature of Bahamian democracy, as citizens demanded accountability and progress from their government. Cultural advancements also marked the modern era. The establishment of the University of the Bahamas in 2016 expanded educational opportunities and underscored the nation's commitment to fostering knowledge and innovation. Today, the Bahamas stands as a beacon of resilience and cultural diversity, celebrating its rich history while striving to build a sustainable and inclusive future. Conclusion: the history of the Bahamas is a compelling narrative of resilience, adaptation, and cultural evolution. From the arrival of the Lucayans, who first made these islands their home, to the transformative periods of European colonization, the age of piracy, and eventual independence, the Bahamas has been shaped by the confluence of civilizations and historical forces. Each chapter in its past reveals a story of challenges met with ingenuity and strength. Achieving independence in 1973 was a monumental step, empowering the Bahamian people to forge their own destiny. The thriving tourism and finance industries reflect the nation's ability to leverage its unique assets, while its rich cultural heritage, shaped by African, European, and indigenous influences, continues to resonate in its traditions, art, and society. Today, the Bahamas is not only a paradise celebrated for its natural beauty, but also a nation with a proud history and a bright future. Its story is a reminder of the enduring power of human spirit and cultural identity. Thank you for joining World History, explored on this journey through the captivating history of the Bahamas. Please like this video and subscribe to World History Explored channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.